Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome back, everyone. So, have you ever wondered why traditional dating advice, the classic just be a nice guy routine, basically falls flat on its face in the real world? Well, today we are unpacking a seriously fascinating psychological playbook. We're going to decode the hidden mechanics of human connection. Trust me, you don't want to miss this explainer. Here's the roadmap for what we're looking at today. Surface versus depth pursuit, chaser or hunter, Raphael's secret, scarcity and selective availability, and finally, we'll wrap up with emotional stability. Let's get to it.
All right, Section 1, Surface versus Depth Pursuit. To really get this, we gotta ask kind of a controversial question, right? Why do good guys get ignored the most? The source material actually shares this super telling anecdote about a corporate guy. Picture this, great job, really high salary, honestly a good-looking dude. Naturally, women were interested at first. They'd go on dates with him, but inevitably, after just a little while, things would just go totally cold. I mean, he had all the on-paper achievements, right? But he literally couldn't keep their attention the second someone else made them feel something different. Why? Because he was entirely stuck playing this surface game.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the massive distinction between the two approaches. Surface pursuit is exactly what our corporate guy was doing, trying to impress someone using pure logic. Achievements, looks, status. And sure, the brain calculates those things, but honestly, it gets bored incredibly fast. Logical calculations simply do not create lasting connections. Depth pursuit, though, that bypasses logic completely. It's all about building a connection so deep it becomes practically a biological necessity. It's an emotional habit that the other person's nervous system actually starts to crave.
The source uses this brilliant coffee analogy to explain how you build this depth, and it hits the nail right on the head. Imagine someone hands you a really good cup of coffee one morning. It's nice, but, you don't overthink it. Then, a few days later, they give you another one. Slowly, almost without realizing it, you start expecting it. You wake up and your brain is like, hey, I want that coffee. Then, suddenly one day, the shop is closed. Your entire day feels weirdly incomplete, right? You actually start actively looking for it. Well, emotional connection works the exact same way. You offer focused emotional attention, and then you unexpectedly step back. They start to crave that feeling, and ultimately, they actively seek you out. It's absolutely not manipulation, by the way. It's just understanding the basic human need for emotion, challenge, and a little bit of uncertainty.
Moving on to Section 2. Are you a chaser or a hunter?
Okay, get this. The source points out that a staggering 90% of men fail right at this exact stage. 90%. And why? Because the very second they find someone they like, they instantly transform into a 24/7 helpline. I mean, they're faster than Amazon Prime. Always texting back instantly, always available, saying yes to absolutely everything. They completely kill their own value just by being entirely predictable and way, way too accessible. The contrast between these two mindsets is just night and day. The chaser operates from a place of, lower power. They're kind of desperate, always seeking validation, agreeing with whatever's said, and they totally panic at the slightest hint of rejection. They're constantly trying to convince the other person. Now flip that. The hunter operates with this grounded, silent authority. A hunter's intentions are clear, for sure, but their neediness? Absolute zero. They don't ask, they state. They don't panic, they just observe. And it's exactly that grounded energy that naturally draws people in like a magnet.
All right, let's look at Section 3, Raphael's secret, incomplete conversations.
So Raphael is this wildly fascinating case study from the source. This is a guy who wasn't exactly a supermodel, didn't have crazy high status or money, but man, he was astonishingly successful at attracting interest. When someone finally asked for his secret, Raphael dropped this golden rule: I never complete any conversation. Just think about what the average person does on a date. They talk a topic completely to death, right? They answer every single question fully, trying so hard to satisfy the other person, leaving absolutely nothing left to say.
But a hunter? A hunter never reveals the whole shebang. Raphael would wait until the conversation hit its absolute peak. When the chemistry is just flowing perfectly, everyone's laughing, and then he'd deliberately stop. He'd leave a thought incomplete, or just warmly say, hey, I've got to run. By abruptly leaving the interaction right at its highest point, he didn't leave his date satisfied. He left them incredibly curious. He planted this burning question in their mind that would literally keep them awake at night. It sparks this absolutely irresistible intrigue.
Okay, on to Section 4, Scarcity and Selective Availability.
So what is the crucial magic number for early texting? It's 2. According to the playbook, you should only contact the person twice a week. No more, no less. Now, your brain might start panicking, right? Thinking, oh man, if I don't text them every single day, they're going to forget I exist. But actually, the exact opposite is true. Because everybody else is flooding their phone with constant daily messages, your silence makes you rare. The source compares it to applying a really expensive perfume. If you spray too much, it's just overwhelming and gross. But if you apply just the right amount, it leaves a lasting, truly memorable impression.
So when you do actually reach out, wait a few days so you're not completely predictable. And whatever you do, please don't ask for permission. Don't do the whole, would you maybe want to hang out sometime routine. Instead, declare a plan. Confidently say something like, hey, there's this fascinating hidden spot in the old city. I'm taking you to this Saturday at 5 p.m. Wear comfortable shoes. See the difference? You aren't asking for direction, you are providing it. And that display of certainty, it is incredibly attractive.
And hey, when you are finally face-to-face, you've got to ditch the boring, fact-based interview questions. Asking, so what do you do for a living, just gets you a robotic, rehearsed script. People don't remember facts, they remember how you made them feel. So ask emotion-based questions instead. Try something like, when was the moment you felt most alive? That actually forces them to pause, reflect on a deeper level, and open up emotionally. And that right there is where true connection is forged.
Finally, Section 5, Emotional Stability and Real Power.
Let's be real. Eventually, you're going to be tested. The person you're seeing might feel themselves getting attached, maybe a little insecure, and they will absolutely test the dynamic. They might reply coldly out of nowhere or suddenly cancel a plan at the last minute. Now, 99% of guys will totally panic here. They'll demand answers, get upset, and boom, kill their value. But the hunter? The hunter simply replies, no problem, another time. Zero extra explanation, zero anger. And driven by this immense mix of respect and curiosity, she almost always comes back. Why? Because she finally encountered someone who didn't just crumble the second she pulled away.
And this brilliantly illustrates our core philosophy here. Power is absolutely not about domination. True power is emotional stability. It comes from living in abundance. You are totally grounded in your own life, your own goals, and your own purpose. You don't react to mood swings or little tests because your world doesn't revolve around their validation. Remember, a relationship should be a beautiful addition to your life, not your entire reason for waking up in the morning.
Which leaves us with this empowering new standard. I chose myself. To be truly magnetically attractive, you've got to recognize that you are the prize. Stay grounded. Maintain that emotional stability. Never ever abandon your own world just to chase someone else's. So the next time you feel that frantic urge to chase, I want you to ask yourself, are you ready to stop seeking validation and start choosing yourself? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, everyone. See you next time.